Hello, and welcome everyone. Thank you for clicking on this video. I'm Mieke and I want to write with you. In this, my first video, I want to take you through the process of my outlining. I want to share this with you because this process really helps me avoid some of my earlier pitfalls, and it might help you as well. It helps me with my story structure, of course, but it's also a great tool to help plan out subplots and help plan foreshadowing. Because it allows me to zoom in on my scenes, it also helps me with pacing. Because it makes very clear if a scene is necessary or not, and how many important plot points are going to be in one scene. Another thing I love about using this Trello method is that it lets my creativity run free. Because nothing is set in stone until I decide it's perfect, or near enough. This way, I can treat every step in the process as a brainstorm for one particular part of my outline, and then zooming in more on the details with every step. Of course, everyone can customize this method to fit their writing style or outlining style best. Soon I'm going to hand you over to the voiceover Mieke, who will take you through the practicalities and the basic ideas of this Trello method. Before I let you all go, I want you to remember that I'm trying to squeeze a whole story outline into a 20-minute tutorial. Your outline will probably have a lot more scenes, and the steps will have more overlap. To show you what it can look like with an actual story outline, I'll include my outline for NaNoWriMo at the end of the tutorial. For now, have fun with voiceover Mieke.
I started with a new Trello board. You can just go to trello.com, make an account and make a board. It doesn't cost money and it's always open. As you can see, I've used the backgrounds. That's optional when you make a new board. Okay, the first thing I do is I start making lists. The first list is always scenes that I have to put somewhere, or scenes that I still have to place, or brainstorm scenes, however you want to call it. After that, I use my plotting outline. So for me, this is the hero's journey. So we do introduction to the world, call to action, yada yada yada. And I make a list for every section of my story. So for every one of those parts, I make a list. When I'm done making those lists, I start to focus on the scenes. Step 2, add your scenes. Like I said, I start thinking of scenes. In this particular instance, I have absolutely no idea what the story is going to be about. I don't think it matters a lot, since this is just a tutorial, so it doesn't have to be that well thought out of a story. But despite not really having an idea, I think that I can make a somewhat thought out story in the span of this tutorial. Let's start with Mary. Mary is starting at a new school. What is going to be interesting about this? There's dragon eggs in the school. So she finds dragon eggs in the basement. That makes me think that she has always wanted to ride a dragon. And then I think, well, we need another character, Victor. Victor, who stole the dragon eggs. Like this, I think of several things that could have happened. Step 3, where possible, place your scenes in their first order. There's going to be a few things that you can place right away, just looking at your scenes. Usually I have a lot more scenes before I really start placing, because the stories are more complex, and this usually takes me about a week to 2 weeks, depending on how I'm feeling about the story, when inspiration strikes, how complicated the plot is and how complicated I want it to be. So for now, just a quick overview. I'm just gonna have a few scenes in there before I start arranging them. Well, Mary is starting school. That really does sound like the start of a story. So that's something that's gonna happen during the introduction to the world. Another thing that I think can be introduced in the introduction is that she has always wanted to ride a dragon. Now, wanting something isn't a scene per se, but it is something that we as the reader get introduced to during the part introduction into the world. So I'm going to place it there. Now I'm just going through my list. Like I said, usually it's a bit of a longer list, but I'm just going through it willy-nilly and picking out a few things. Ferdinand gets hurt by the dragon. You know what? That does happen, and that's the temptation, or it's the dark moment. I don't know yet. But it's further along in the story, and we'll see what happens to that scene. So I'm just going to place different scenes, different plot beats under the right list, or what I now think is the right list. That's something that's really useful. With Trello, you can change and drag different cards to different lists. So if you put something somewhere and you don't agree, you can put it somewhere else. Now, because I have a few plot beats here, I can develop my story further. Step 4, continue filling in scenes and dragging them to different lists until you have the story before you the way you want it. I see that Victor is the one that puts the eggs in the basement, and Victor teaches her that dragons are afraid of humans. He's the mentor character here. That reminds me, or that makes me think that, okay, so Victor knows a lot. So if I want things about the dragons to be in the story, that might be a place where we can put it. So he tells Mary that those dragon eggs are the last remaining dragons. First, we decided that she always wanted to ride a dragon. And then, well, she gets to ride a dragon. And for now, it feels like something that happens when she crosses the threshold, but it could also be a temptation, because it could also be something that maybe the dragon does not want. Usually, if it's your own story, you might have a better idea of this in your head, but it doesn't have to be, because the first start is always brainstorming. Now, something else that I really like about this technique is that it helps me with the subplots. Something I kind of struggled with before was that my subplots all happened like in the same chapter or all in the same frame of time, because I suddenly realized that the subplots that I wanted could be put here, but it wasn't something that stretched over the whole story. At least that was something I really struggled with, and that was something that I had to edit out later, because you don't want to go from 0 to 100 in a character arc just because they're not the main character. You want them to feel real and to feel 3D. What I can do now is say, okay, you know what? Victor has a little brother and he's called Peter. And now I realize, okay, you know what? I want Peter to have a subplot. I want Peter to be afraid of dragons, and then his fears become true. He gets hurt by a dragon. He can heal himself, but he has to hurt a dragon in return, hurt the black dragon. You know what? Black dragon sounds cool. That's the one that Mary has bonded to. So you can always change your scenes as well. And you can go down that line and go, okay, you know what? This is a bit of Peter's story. You can always add to it. But as you see, I'm just writing his story now. And now it's time for a subplot of Mary's mother. What happened later was that this subplot, it's just something that popped into my head during my brainstorm, but it's not actually something that really has footing in the story. So even though I put it in my scenes I still need to place, it's something that I'm removing later because I couldn't fit it into my storyline and I don't want to force it in somewhere. Step 5, and this is a step that I no longer use, but you might want to incorporate, and it's labeling your scenes. When you're labeling your scenes, you look who is present in the scene. This can be useful when you get the overview of your story and you find out that someone who's pretty important to the story is barely in any scenes. Or you find out that, for example, in this story, everything starts with Mary, and Mary is in all the first scenes, but no one else is. Maybe that's something you want, maybe that's something you don't want, but it does make it a lot clearer. It also helps when you're looking for plot holes or something like that to see who was where, so they can't be misplaced, to say. You can very easily make labels by editing the card you're on and then checking the labels, making a new label, and it will show with colors on your card. I'm just going to do this really quickly for every single card. You can choose to do this after your brainstorm or after you've done everything. So it is optional to do this step earlier. This is completely up to you. Step 6. Now that your story is where you want it, you can summarize every part, so every list, in a few words. I always make this pretty. So I make a description and then choose something that represents the feeling of that part, or that represents the biggest action in that part. You don't have to do it like that. You can choose to just use colors. Just make sure that it stands out so that you can easily see, oh, this is my story, these are the story beats. The reason I do this is because sometimes I think I've captured everything I needed from a certain part, and then it turns out that there are scenes missing, or there are scenes there that maybe do not fit there, and you really get a great overview of that when you try to summarize exactly what had to happen in that part. Do think about the fact that this is what happens mainly to the main character, so there might be stuff in that line that does not apply, but that's something you'll have to judge for yourself. I'm just gonna really quickly put a little description in every single part. You can see there are some parts where this is gonna help me brainstorm because I don't have the answer yet. And now I have a really good overview of what my story is, what I want the end to be, and I can do my last edit of the scenes. I know that we drag the scenes around a lot, but that really helps me when I try to put my story in the right mind space. Okay, great. Now I have something that for me represents what happens. She's going somewhere, she finds the nest, she has an alliance, little dragons appear, but then there's an evil guy. After that, something's burning, something tender's happening. Shock, because the blue dragon is gone. But then they win and they get a happily ever after. It's just a dumb little story, but it does get the point across, I think. I rearrange my scenes one last time, and then I have exactly what I want for my story, all the story beats and where I want them. Then we're on to step 7, which is to divide your story in chapters and specify your scenes in bullet points. To make the chapters, I use the same method as I do for the cover of each part, except I use a color because it's smaller. So it's just an easy way to see what the chapters are. To show you how I use these chapters, I'm just going to do the introduction to the world. Mary is starting school. To be honest, this usually takes me a lot longer, so now that I'm looking at it, I see that chapter 1 only has 2 plot points, and one of them is not even a plot point. So that really helps me with finding out that there's something lacking in there. So how about we give her a little problem? She can't find her classes. Then we have 2 plot point-ish things and a desire. I'm going to specify the first scene. Mary is starting school, and I'm going to turn it into Mary is riding on the school bus. That is an actual action, and you want an action in every scene, or at least I want an action in every scene. Now that we have Mary is on the school bus as scene 1, and Mary doesn't know where her classes are, and she is looking for them as scene 2. That still doesn't tell us a lot of what we have to write. It also doesn't incorporate the fact that she wanted to ride a dragon. So we're going to specify the scenes even further. You can do this by adding a checklist. You can call the checklist whatever you want. You can call it plot points. You can maybe have different checklists for emotion, desire, plot beats, whatever. I use one checklist and it just says what I want in this scene. So what do I want to happen in this scene? To get an answer, I have to think, what does this scene add to the story? Well, this scene adds to the story because we can see that she's lonely, but it also brings her to the location she has to be. Okay, great. She's lonely, so she's finding someone to sit next to, and that does not work. So she has to sit alone, and then we can incorporate that she has a thought that she wants to fly with dragons. That way we have incorporated that point, but it's not a scene in itself. So as you see, even at the last stage, everything is still kind of changing and moving around, but the further you go, the more you have an idea of what every part of your story is, what every chapter is, then what every scene is, and then what has to happen in those scenes. So you go from really big to really small, and it really helps me when I try to center a story. I'm very quickly going to show you the outline for the story I'm working on right now. As a bit of a backstory, it's about a girl called Samira who finds out that she has magic. She has a best friend called Duncan, a sister called Gina, and future brother-in-law called Callius, who turns out to be a prince. I'll show you what it looks like right now. I really like looking at it. I'm still working on the second part of the story and adding the chapters there and adding in the plot beats, so the checklists. I normally do this in chronological order because that just makes more sense in my brain. But if there's something that I really want to happen in a certain scene and I think that's a great idea, I'm definitely going to forget that, I'm just going to add a checklist and put it there already. After I have this whole thing lined out, which is probably going to be a while, I'm going to go back and see what is missing, where I can foreshadow. If there is a scene with only 2 plot points and I need something more to happen, I can see if I can put something in there that foreshadows something that happened or that tells a bit more about the world. When I'm writing, I then just put this on text and I write beneath it. So if we're going to look at my first plot point, I'm just going to write Samina and Duncan are shearing sheep, with Duncan giving background commentary. I then write the scene looking at the checklist and if I've hit every single part of the checklist. If I haven't, I'm going back and I'm going to put these parts in there because there is a reason they are in the checklist. But if there is no way to incorporate it, I can always say, okay, I'm going to transfer that to another scene, or it doesn't need to be in the story and I can leave it out. That's basically the gist of my outlining method. I know it's not very innovative, but for me, it brought me all the tools I needed to improve my outlining and to make good subplots and avoid plot holes.
Well, she certainly talks a lot, doesn't she? I hope this tutorial was useful to you, and I would love to hear if you will use it. And if so, if there is anything you're changing, so we can all learn from each other. Thank you for watching this video. I would of course appreciate it very much if you could like and subscribe, but only do so if you want to. I'll see you in the next video. I now want to mention quickly that my sister Irma has a channel as well. She's been my inspiration to start this YouTube journey. On screen right now you'll see a link to her channel, and I'll also put a link right there to our conversation about our NaNoWriMo stories if you're curious about that. For now, have a great day and goodbye.